New in the last 5 minutes, new European digital tax to ensure Amazon pays fair share. In the last hour, EU leaders set for stormy debate on digital tax at summit in the last 2 hours. In the last 4 hours, €5 billion digital tax. Bad news for Ireland. AGA and tech giants facing EU digital tax. In the last 8 hours, digital tax plan faces resistance at EU summit yesterday. Europe backs 3% digital tax. 3 cheers for the EC's tax on tech. Tech giants face EU digital tax under new proposals. Digital tax. The Irish reaction in Brussels. IBEC rejects European Commission's proposals on digital tax. Video. EU proposes online turnover tax for big tech firms. EU takes on digital giants with new revenue tax. EU proposes major new tax on big tech companies. EU slaps technology giants with £4.4 billion digital tax. EU proposes new rules to tax digital business. Proposed EU online turnover tax. Ill-judged Irish PM. Proposed EU online turnover tax. Ill-judged Irish PM. European Commission's digital tax plan is in for a fight. EU unveils new digital tax targeting tech giants. European Commission wants 3 PCT tax on revenues of large tech companies. European Commission proposes measures to companies pay fair tax in the EU. The EU could make big tech pay tax on its turnover. European Commission targets tech giants with new tax proposals. European Commission proposes flat tax on revenue aimed at US tech giants. Europe proposes massive tech tax hike on Silicon Valley giants. EU unveils plans for 3% tax on online services. EU's 3% turnover tax to hit Amazon, Google, Facebook. Tech giants and European Commission cites as new tax proposals unveiled. Tech giants face European digital tax. EU floats digital tax amid heightened scrutiny of tech firms. European Commission proposes 3% turnover tax for digital companies. Europe just dropped a major tax bombshell to get US tech giants to pay up. Commission digital tax proposal. Tax rules need to enter 21st century. Brussels proposes EU-wide tax on tech giants' revenues. EU proposes new tax rules for tech giants so all pay their fair share. Commission eyes €5 billion annual windfall with new digital tax. EU unveils digital tax plans. Facebook, Google, Amazon to be hit. EU proposes online turnover tax for big tech firms. EU to propose tax on big tech companies' sales. Special tax on digital companies would harm EU's attractiveness. EU digital levy could hit tech FDI and tax revenue here. EU plans to tax turnover of big US tech firms. EU to unveil plan to tax turnover of big US tech firms in the last 7 days. NZ faces Google tax decision. Luxembourg has almost 600 secret tax rulings in place. EU set to propose 3% tax on digital giants. EU eyes 3% tax on tech giants' revenue. A tax on tech titans, an IPO for Dropbox and a tariff deadline. EU reportedly weighing 3% tax on international tech companies. Ireland's digital tax battle. OECD to the rescue. Tech giants set to face 3% tax on revenue under new EU plan. The digital tax in EU is back in vogue, and still a bad idea. Reservations on EU digital tax plan. US and OECD warned Brussels against plan for new digital tax. The EU digital tax is back on the agenda, and as wrong as ever. EU prepares revenue-based tax on US tech giants. EU digital services tax, a populist and flawed proposal. EU set to hit US tech firms with 3% turnover tax. The EU digital tax is back as wrong as ever. EU proposes new tax on US tech companies' revenue. EU set to hit big US tech firms with 3% turnover tax. EU plans 3% digital tax on turnover of large firms. Draft. EU ready to hit big US tech firms with 3% turnover tax. EU plans 3% digital tax on turnover of large firms. Draft. EU plans 3% digital tax on turnover of large firms. Draft. New digital tax could apply at a rate of 3%. EU plans 3 PCT digital tax on turnover of large firms. Draft. EU to propose 3% digital tax on turnover of large firms. Draft. EU to propose 3 PCT digital tax on turnover of large firms. Draft. EU to propose 3% digital tax on turnover of large firms. Draft. MEPs back common corporate tax proposal with big majority. EU may impose new 3% tax on tech companies' revenues. Report in the last month. Threat to Irish tax take from EU proposal to levy digital giants. Finance ministers scold Moscovici over tax avoidance. Labeling Estonia's tax regime facilitates BEPS, says EC employers. Estonia not considered land of tax avoidance.